afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. This is JP, our Book of Hours, and this is the daily report. Hope you're all doing well today. I had this whole, I wish I had this like cool intro that sounded like musy, the old Muse sounds, or the loud, brassy kind of intro. Well, maybe not that. Maybe something a little more Book of Hoursy, you know. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Just to remind you, this is a daily broadcast or live stream, however you want to put it, brought to you by us, Book of Hours. And this is a new feature. It is a fundraiser because we are up against the wall, man. Uh, I lost my job, so that's why I'm doing these reports. I'm reading mainstream articles, New York Times email, morning email, whatever comes across my desk. I have something a little different today than the morning email because one, it's more interesting than the morning email, and two, the morning email is kind of dumb and very. It just really isn't pertinent. There was another article that Julie sent to me that I thought about doing, and it was also kind of dumb and not really all that relevant. But I'll just give you a quick synopsis. It was from the BBC, and it was about a highway that's being built in the Amazon rainforest for the COP30 conference, which is the carbon and climate change summit. World leaders and business leaders. So basically, the ruling class are getting together in this town in Brazil, in the north of Brazil, and it's on the coast. Um, and this highway would basically run about 12 to 15 miles along the edge of the city, and it would cut through rainforest, which is already bumping rainforest, by the way, that was already bumping up against the city, the outskirts of the city. So the indignation of the article was unbelievable. They didn't tell the viewer how many miles the road was. They made it sound like it went right through the middle of the rainforest for hundreds or if not thousands of miles. Um, the Amazon rainforest. I think it's appalling and just hypocrisy on the highest level for them to do that in the first place. But at the same time, we're talking about a city that's on the edge of the rainforest and along the coast of Brazil. So it's already a somewhat urban environment that bumps up against, the wilderness of the Amazon rainforest. So, on one hand, it's like the ultimate hypocrisy. On the other hand, it's like, well, that's what cities do. And unfortunately, that's what cities do. And I'm not apologizing for that. I think it's bullshit too. It's a big city. It looks like it's a big city. But I also think it's just like completely ridiculous of the BBC to make that report without giving any sort of context to it. So that was the other piece that I was going to possibly read, but I decided against that. Okay. So as I mentioned yesterday, we've had some donations. So I want to shout out and thank you to Dawn. You who you are, thank you very much for your donation. We really do appreciate that. Every little bit helps. We are moving slowly to our goal of $500. We are still at the $320 short mark, so 175, I guess, 180 actually. So we're $320 short. Although we are immensely grateful to our friends and family who come through for us, which has allowed us to keep our utilities from getting shut off. We need to sustain a living while I'm unemployed, and this is how we do it. We are on this live stream bringing you content that you probably won't find other places, and if you do, you don't get the insights that we bring. Julie and I are describers, explainers, analysts, and we bring a unique perspective as creative people to culture, economy, and politics. Um, being unemployed, well, being employed in the 21st century, but being unemployed in the 21st century is much different than when than all of us were unemployed in the last century. um, it's certainly a lot different in 2025 than it was in 2022. So even just a couple years of difference, it's no longer just about handing out applications and getting interviews and sending out your resume. I've sent my portfolio and my website to over hundreds of companies and agencies who claim to be looking for what I do, and that is user experience designer. And I have a stack of auto response canned rejection letters that are AI driven that I could, if I printed them out, I could probably wallpaper this back up here. So, what we're looking to you, our audience, is, and let's see, I got a chat here on Wednesday. Hard to hear me. Oh, shit. Wow. I am so sorry. I had my microphone turned off. Wow. I did that whole bit without anything. Ugh, jeez. Okay. Was there did anyone hear the last uh 6 minutes? Wow. Um wow. I am so sorry. Well, did anybody hear that? Sounds windy now. It did sound windy, or does sound. Do you hear the wind chimes? We have the windows open here in the studio. You probably shouldn't be hearing that, but what does it sound like now, folks? You did. Okay. Yeah. But I'm curious, like, did anyone hear that preamble for the last? Probably not. Just rehash it. Okay. All right. So I won't talk about the articles that I was not planning. 5x5. Okay. Not sure what that means. Okay. So as I mentioned yesterday, we've had some donations, some personal and some to Book of Hours, but we are not out of the woods yet. No, we missed the first 5 minutes or so. Okay. We are still $320 short of our $500 goal. Although we are immensely grateful for our friends and family who have come through for us and which allowed us to keep our utilities from getting shut off, we need to sustain a living while I'm unemployed, and this is how we do it. We do it through the daily report. We do it through our bookmark shows. We do it through Julie's weekly reading on Fridays, and if we're trying to, we'll try to get to an essay, but I don't know. That's a lot of time that we put into those. So I'm not sure if that'll happen because I've been busy all this morning. In fact, part of the reason I couldn't do this show this morning was because I had to meet some requirements, some bullshit requirements that the state of Mississippi has thrown up against me in order to qualify for my measly check of $199 a month. A week. That would be awful if it was. I wouldn't even do it. It was $199 a month. Yeah. Anyway, it's a little bit better than working a job at McDonald's, and that's ultimately, I think, what they all want us to be is McDonald's employees or the equivalent thereof. Being unemployed in the 21st century is so much different than it was even a few years ago, let alone the 20th century. It's no longer about handing out applications and getting interviews or sending out your resume. I've sent my portfolio, my resume, and my website out to hundreds of companies and agencies who claim to be looking for people who do what I do, which is a user experience designer. And I have a stack of auto response canned rejection letters that are AI driven, that if I printed them out, I could wallpaper the back of the wall over here behind us, where you see that lovely painting that I painted in 1986. You can support Book of Hours by becoming a subscriber on Substack, and that would be bookofhours.substack.com. And if you look at the ticker down below, all that information is there, and Julie has just posted that information. I'm going to paste it again because, once again, Patreon, the word Patreon is part. No, I fixed it. You fixed it? Uh-huh. Okay. Well, it still looks like it's part of the Substack link. Okay. If you click the link, it goes directly to Patreon. Okay. So you can go to Substack, bookofours.substack.com, Patreon, patreon.com/bookofhours. You can go make a one-time donation if you'd like, and that's at paypal.me/bookofhours or Cash App, $Book of Hours. If you're not a fan of online donation options, no problem. You can email us at info@book-of-hours, and we will email you our snail mail address. If you go up here in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, it says www.book-of-hours.com. If you just replace the www and put in info at, that's the address. Okay. So it's right up there if you missed me speaking it out loud. Okay. Oh, shout out. Thank you to Dawn for your donation. We love you, Dawn. Thank you for being such a longtime supporter and fan of Book of Hours. And we do appreciate your donation. Every little bit helps, and every lot helps, and every in between helps. So thank you so much for that. We do appreciate it. She made her donation on PayPal, and it's something that you can all do if you feel up to it. If you have the money, we don't want to ask money from people who don't have it. For people who are in our situation, we're not looking for you to help us out. But for those of you who are not, if you can spare a $10 bill, if you can spare a Jackson, a Hamilton, a U.S. Grant, or even a Benjamin Franklin, that would be awesome. Who's on the $500 bill? Do you remember, Julie?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I forget who's on the. I haven't seen too many. Yeah, I haven't seen too many of those. Okay. All right. So today I'm going. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to mention. So today is the 5th anniversary of the lockdown, the COVID lockdowns from 2020 that basically kind of kickstarted us, even though we were doing videos already. In the from 2016 through 2020, we really found our voice and audience once the lockdown started, because A, it was an important subject to talk about. B, my job was curtailed temporarily while the lockdowns took place, and C, we didn't have anything. We had time, right? Because I had no work to do, so I had my job closed because of COVID. Yeah. All right. It was awesome though. I know it's true. Julie just said a lot of people don't understand sarcasm, so I apologize for my sarcasm. This morning, my neighbor sent me a joke, and it was a visual, and it was a photograph of a placard sign out, and it said on the wall, and it said gun shooting range in English, and then below it had the Braille equivalent. And he's like, "What's the problem here?" And I basically said, I just can't see, and I've spelled out "see" in capital letters, what the problem is. And he didn't understand that I was using sarcasm. So sorry. Yeah. So sarcasm and irony is a hallmark of Generation X, and yet it's kind of gone away, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
I think because of the onset of social media and the digital world, it's gone out of our zeitgeist.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as sarcasm or irony.
I think irony, sarcasm, and humor has been lost, as Julie just told me, as a result of social media. I think people are a lot more literal now. Okay. So the point that I was making is that today is the 5th anniversary, and I want to share something on the screen, and that is
the 5th anniversary of the announcement of the COVID national emergency.
The COVID national emergency, the 5th anniversary. So Julie wrote a piece about it, and it's right here. It's called 5 Years. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the national emergency for COVID response. And I'm not going to read this to you. You should read it. It's an important piece, and it gives some context. And it sort of discusses the legacy and the fallout from what took place 5 years ago. And it's kind of deja vu all over again, because we've got, Mr. Trump, or whoever you want to call him, Orange Man, the president, Trump, Donald Trump, Mr. President, whatever you call him. I have a few reserved words that I won't use, but something else I want to mention is that this piece triggered something. Do you want me to talk about that?
About
The trigger from Substack?
Oh,
Or do you think you fixed that?
I think I may have been able to circumvent their attempt to take down their Substack page by accusing us of things that aren't true.
Yeah, there was a little flag that came up that accused us of things that weren't true, and on the piece itself. And you know, these are little wedges that they use to get in and use to you know, take people down. So hopefully that worked. Julie's adjustment of the language. We're just guessing what it might have been. So anyway, okay, so that's that piece. Go to that. The link is in the show notes, but let me just post that in the chat for those of you on YouTube. And I'll post that. But go to Substack and go to our homepage, and that is bookofours.substack.com. Okay. All right, I'm going to hide that one, and I'm going to share this other piece that I discovered. I read it out loud to Julie yesterday, and she's like, "You need to read this." So instead of the morning email, which is trite and stupid and boring, I'm going to opinionated. I'm going to read this piece from the Muse by Amanda Cardosa. The Muse, I subscribed to it like a while ago. It's a job site. You know, they post job listings and have content, try to make themselves relevant in the world and make money that way. You know, which, whatever, that's how we all try to do it. We all try to remain relevant, I guess. Okay. Let's close that, and we'll close that. Hopefully it'll go away. It'll probably come back. So the truth about ghost jobs. Now, what are ghost jobs? Ghost jobs are these jobs that show up that are basically fake jobs. They're not scams. They're not scam jobs. They're just not real. They're from real companies, and they're fake. And when you apply to them, nothing happens. And there's tons of them on LinkedIn. They're all over the place. People have been talking about this. And it's one more effort on the part of corporations to just kind of fuck with people who are desperate. You know, we talked about this yesterday. 7.1 million people who are working. You know, they're eligible to work. They have careers, and a lot of them do anyway, and they've been working, and they're out of work. It's not the elderly, it's not children. This is a big percentage, you know, of the American public. I think it's like 4% of the American public that is, you know, all together, but like of the working public, I mean, I'm sure it's much higher. Anyway, and something else that I wanted to mention, I was talking to Julie about this earlier. In the process of looking for work, one of the things that has come up more often now is, and Julie mentions this in her Substack piece, that you have to go through, like if you're going for a corporate job, you have to go through a background check. And it used to be, you know, nothing really. I mean, years ago, they'd look at your resume, you'd have an interview with a few people, maybe 2-3 people. You'd give references, and that was it. And you'd get hired or not hired based on, you know, the interview and your experience. But over time, it's become more complex. So first it was drug tests, okay, and I'd have to go out and get a drug test. and the company would pay for it, but I'd have to take my time and my resources to get out there to the site, have them draw blood, make me pee in a cup, and then I wait to hear the results. Of course, whatever. Most people in the corporate sector, they're not, they're not drug addicts, but they still do it anyway. Okay, and then it's a way of making money, right? It's kickbacks and shit. Then they started checking your credit record, your credit scores. Why did they start checking your credit scores? And they said, well, and this is some backward logic that was the excuse, and I think it's more than that. But they would say, well, if somebody doesn't have good credit standing, then we wouldn't necessarily want them in our, as an employee, because we're not sure that we could trust them. And I'm thinking to myself, and I think a lot of people have, is like, well, wait a minute. A lot of us have bad credit scores because we've been out of work for a while and haven't been able to pay our bills. Are you sure that's a good idea? Are you sure that's a great idea? And then now, in this time and age, and even at, around 2008, actually in 2010, they didn't check my credit scores. So this is a new thing in the last, say 10 years. Now there's a lot of people that are foreclosing on their mortgages, right? Or they're having trouble paying their bills or whatever. 1 million mortgage foreclosures in 2024. That's a phenomenal number. And if those people are trying to get work so that they can, make a living, so that they can, do these things, pay their bills and stuff, they can't get work because that will flag them as being uncreditworthy or unworthy of getting a job to continue contributing to the economy. And then they get blamed and shamed for not working and being on the dole, or being, put part of the state funded apparatus. They go on, food stamps, what they call food stamps, what used to be called food stamps, SNAP benefits, as they call it now, and other things, and living, in poverty, basically. So this is ridiculous. It's just a mind fuck and a total reaming of people for basically trying to be, trying to live. And I don't understand it. And it goes counter to what Trump has been saying in his stump speeches. All these people are now doing the thing that he said that, he didn't want people doing, and it goes counter to like most Republicans' worldview, right? So instead of these people being able to support themselves and add to the tax bases and, keep the economy running, they're now withdrawing money from the state and just creating chaos. Okay. Yeah. File under doesn't make any sense. Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to start talking about this article. Now, ghost jobs are those jobs that don't exist. All right. So this came out last month, and I caught it because they included it in an email. You'll see a lot of ads in here, so just ignore that. Finding a job never looked so much like a scary movie. For one, candidates being ghosted by recruiters. Now there's this new wave of ghost jobs, which are positions that don't really exist. Here's everything you need to know about this trend, plus tips on how to spot and avoid wasting time with a ghost job. And those tips aren't that great, so we'll talk about those. What are ghost jobs? Picture this. You apply for a job, but are never called in for an interview. You think, whatever, and keep applying for other opportunities. Weeks later, you're browsing on LinkedIn and see the exact same job listing you originally applied for. Company role, requirements, duties and responsibilities all the same. You apply again because why not? And the same cycle repeats. That was probably a ghost job. The term ghost jobs refer to fake job opportunities posted by legitimate companies. These companies may or may not actually hire someone for this role in the future, but at that moment, they aren't really looking to fill that position. Ghost job postings are different from scam jobs, which are fake positions posted by fake companies, usually with the intention of stealing your personal information or scamming you into buying software or equipment or something like that. I talked about this in one of our past live streams this week. Why do companies post ghost jobs? There isn't only one specific reason why companies post ghost jobs. A 2022 Clarify Capital survey. Now, this goes back 3 years, okay? So this has been going on for a while. A 2022 Clarify Capital survey of 1,000 hiring managers revealed 7 different reasons why these fake opportunities are becoming more common nowadays. In some cases, these jobs are posted with no intention to hire at all. 43% of hiring managers said they use these ghost jobs to give the impression that the company is growing. In other cases, companies are just banking candidates for a rainy day. 37% like to have an active pool of applicants in case of a turnover. Now, this first point. They use these ghost jobs to give the impression that the company is growing. This is something that Julie has been talking about even before all this shit started happening. These companies are trying to make themselves look good to like their funders or the people that invest in them, their shareholders. And like something we've pointed out is the companies will get rewarded by their shareholders, and their CEOs will get rewarded through bonuses by basically laying off a bunch of people. But they can also make it look like they're doing well by having all these job opportunities posted. So you get they're trying to get you on both sides, right? They get you in coming in the door and going out. In other cases, companies are just so they're just banking on candidates. So they're basically collecting resumes for future use. Here are the most common reasons why companies post ghost jobs. The company wants to keep their options open. For some companies, hiring is like dating. They find someone really cool, but because they aren't ready to settle yet, they keep advertising certain roles. This is true for 50% of the hiring managers who answered the Clarify Capital survey, stating that the company is always open to new people. Oh my God. So 50%, that's half. And it's probably more now because, this is from 2022, this survey, right? So they're basically saying, yeah, we hired these people, but or what is it they're saying? Oh, they found somebody really cool, but they're not ready. So they haven't hired somebody, but they're still advertising that, right? They're still advertising that role, even though they found somebody that they like. Yeah, that's total BS. Anyway. Okay, the company wants to motivate their employees. Oh, this is even more bullshit. This is even worse. This is fucked up. The company wants to motivate their employees. Some employers believe keeping an active job posting will motivate their employees to work harder. Are you shitting me? That's like that phrase, the lashings will end as soon as morale improves, right? In other words, they want to plant the fear of unemployment in their employees' heads, so they pretend they're looking for someone new. This is true for 43% of surveyed hiring managers. Now, the hiring manager isn't calling the shots on this one. This is definitely something that's coming down from above the hiring manager's heads, right? This is coming from the C level, okay? The C-suite. Fuck. To give the impression the company is thriving, fake it until you make it is a motto that some employers live by. I always say fake it till you make it, but okay. In times of uncertainty in the economy, some companies will advertise false opportunities to make it look like they're growing and thriving. I kind of experienced that the other day. I had an interview with a startup, and it didn't go anywhere. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's what that was or if it was something else,
Well,
but
it was.
yeah, probably because they were getting VC funding, and so they were trying to make it look like make it look like they're doing their due diligence for their
Venture capitalists who are funding them.
yeah, they're venture capitalist overlords, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. God. Okay, the next one. They've already hired someone, but they aren't ready to stop looking. This is kind of like the dating one, right? The one that was above. The fear employees have of not making it through the first 3 months in a new job is one that employers share too. So they're afraid that people will quit, within the first 3 months, I guess. That's why they'll keep some job postings live just in case the new hire doesn't work out and they need to replace them quickly. Okay? So they need to have somebody on hand. Okay. They'll hire someone eventually. Similarly to the employers who are always looking, some want to be prepared for turnover. Yeah, so let's get rid of all those those employees that we pay a lot of money to, okay, and get big, uh, get better benefits and things like that, and hire a bunch of new people that work for less. In some instances, they initially had the intention of immediately hiring someone, but they had to make the position temporarily unavailable. For example, last minute budget cuts. Um, yeah, it's awesome. Okay, yeah, right. The hiring manager forgot to delete the listing. Oh my god. Hiring managers often have a lot on their plate, reviewing resumes, scheduling interviews, giving feedback, and some might end up forgetting to delete a listing for a role that's already filled. I guess that one's not on their KPIs, so they can let that slide, right? Their KPIs. Look that up. KPIs. It's on Wikipedia. You can find it out. I don't need to translate it. This is true for 27% of the surveyed hiring managers. Because they're busy for no particular reason. So an even bigger percentage of these hiring managers for no particular reason, 33% of the surveyed hiring managers said that they'll keep ghost jobs posting live just for no particular reason at all, just to, fuck with people. It doesn't stop there. Ghost jobs are also used as a market research tool, says Heather Guanera, director of HR consulting at Tower Street Insurance and Risk Management. That sounds important. Posting ghost jobs helps companies assess the talent pool and gain insight to the skills available on the job market. Fuck you. If the company needs to fill a spot in the future, those applications may be used to facilitate the process. Companies may gather resumes for future reference, even if they do not have an immediate hiring need. This allows them to streamline future recruitment efforts when positions do open. Mm-hmm. Because it's all about the streamlining. How to spot ghost job postings. The only way to avoid being fooled by ghost job listings is training your eyes to spot them. Here are some signs that you should look for. The position was posted several weeks ago or months ago. Well, that's duh. The file under duh. I've been seeing things. There's a lot of places that post these. Like there's these job sites. And they're like just list sites. And well, anyway, I'll read this and then we'll talk about that. It's It's incredibly unlikely that a company isn't able to find at least one suitable candidate within months, unless it's a very specific industry like rocket engineering. So avoid jobs that are open forever. If it's a job listing, if a job listing has been up for several months without updates or reposting it, it could be a ghost job. Okay, so there's a lot of these list sites like Well, even LinkedIn to some degree. Indeed is a good example of that. You've seen them advertised, and you'll see these job postings, and they'll say, it was just like posted like a week ago or something. What what I've found, and I've learned this long ago, like over 10 years ago, I learned this, because Indeed has been around for a while. If you see something on LinkedIn or Indeed or Glassdoor or one of these, I just go to the website of the company that's doing the hiring, because they are listed, um, and going to their careers section and seeing if that job is posted, and looking at the date that it was posted. Because if it's an old posting, chances are, it's not real. And, or, they have, for all the reasons that we stated above, right? Like the hiring manager forgot to take it down. That's a likely story. Anyway, a lot of these sites, if they're corporate, have content management systems. So, yeah. Anyway, so these are things that you should be aware of, and you just have to go see, you know, for yourself on the site of the company that's hiring. The posting is active on the recruiter's page, but not on the company's page. Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. I even saw a posting on an actual like placement agency site the other day, that I use. And this is a lot more. This is a lot more likely that you'll get action, from a recruiting, like a recruiting agency or a placement agency. This job was posted last August, and they said, we're ready to get started in September. And I was thinking to myself, my God, it's March. They're looking for September. And then I went back and looked at like when it was posted. It was last August. And it wasn't something I could do anyway, but there's a good chance that that job sucks. and or there's just like, they're not finding anybody. Either that or they're just being too picky. So who knows what's up with that. But that's different than what we're talking about here. If the posting is active on the recruiter's page, but not on the company's page, some companies work with third-party recruiters who, due to managing multiple clients, sometimes forget to remove outdated listings. Well, it could be that, like what I just described. When you cross-check with the company's site, you may find they don't actually have an open position. If a job listing appears on a third-party site, but not on the company's official careers page, it may not be an active opening. So it's unlikely that it could that it's going to do that on a site that places people. But there's Roxy. But definitely on sites like Indeed and LinkedIn and Glassdoor. So, okay, there's no recruiter engagement on the posting. You've probably seen this before. A recruiter posts about an open positioning on LinkedIn with a link or email to apply. Potential candidates ask for more details and nobody answers. This could be a ghost job, you think? If the listing lacks recruiter activity, such as responses to inquiries or interview scheduling, it may not be real. Gunara says, the job description is vague or very generic. Okay, well, this happens a lot too. If it looks like the company used ChatGPT or a template to write the job description, it's a red flag. I've seen this a lot with my particular industry. The job descriptions will be like wildly generic and like ask for all these like buzzword type things that may or may not apply to what I'm actually, to like what specific thing they're looking for, like say senior user experience designer, or senior UX UI meaning user interface designer, right? And they'll have like these buzzwords that they plant, that they kind of poke into the job description. And generally those are, you got to watch out for those. So if you know your industry, you know what you're looking for, it's likely that that's either a ghost job or it's not a great place to work. Or it's not great for the kind of job that you're doing. The other thing that I've been seeing a lot of, and this doesn't have anything to do with this, but like they want everything in the fucking world. They want you to, wash the dishes, do great UX with delightful user and interface design, and um, you know, empty the trash and be a programmer, be a developer too. Um, so so you write code and you design and you take out the trash, um, for for less money than you were making when you were a specialist, right? When you're just doing your job before. So those also, I think, are most likely ghost jobs because they're so impossible to meet the requirements that they're just like, oh, yeah, we're just putting it out there. I believe that that's definitely a ghost job if they want so many requirements that you can't possibly. There's nobody that could possibly fill that position. So if it looks like the company used ChatGPT or a template to write the job description, it's a red flag. When it's a real job, companies usually personalize it and get into details of requirements and responsibilities, and real responsibilities, not just like everything in the kitchen sink, right? The flag becomes even bigger if the posting is for a senior role. So if you're, senior level or above, even into the executive, roles. If you look for signals, but it's still unclear if a ghost job let's see, if it's a ghost job posting, Guanara suggests testing the waters. Apply and follow up with an email to the hiring manager or recruiter to confirm whether the position is actively being filled. Okay, that's it. Only if you can find the recruiter or the hiring manager. That's usually not listed. That kind of information is generally not listed in these kinds of job postings. So yes and no, Ms. Guanara. Um, how to find real opportunities. Because of ghost jobs, recruiters ghosting, applicant tracking systems or ATS, and other obstacles that make applying for jobs online and getting hired more difficult, you have to combine multiple strategies to find the right role. Okay, these are all BS, but I'm going to read them to you anyway. Network, network, network. Professional relationships are so important regardless of your industry or level of experience. In a competitive job market full of roadblocks, networking and directly talking to people can put you a few steps ahead. Attending industry events, joining professional groups, and leveraging personal connections can help you get in front of hiring managers, as referrals often carry more weight than online applications. Yeah, well, good luck. If you live in a city and you're tied into your industry community, that's fine. But even then, I found going to networking events never got me anywhere, ever. And it's just like it's a waste of time. You go there and spend money on a drink, money you don't have, and sit around talking to people in a room where you can't hear them very well, and nodding and talking and smiling and not really getting very far. I think the only thing that might work is if you went to like a job fair, but even then, those are aimed at people who are maybe starting their career and not, like, midway or senior level through their career. So this is like, yeah, okay, you can go do that, but I really don't put a lot into that. They do. Then they have a link here: 10 networking conversation starters you'll actually use. Bullshit. Okay. Oh, when I had my own business, I'd go to some of these the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce networking events, and you'd see people from like Wells Fargo or the big corporations, and they'd all walk around in like en masse in like a big group. And there'd be like this cluster of people walking around. It was pretty funny. And then you'd trip over um, personal coaches or life coaches. Like every other person you talk to was either a life coach or a career coach.
And can I just interject?
Yeah.
You can repeat this. All women who have spent 20 plus or 30 plus years at the same job in the career and are either let go right before retirement, which is usually the case, or they've decided to take, to quit, or they're just taking retirement, they always become life coaches.
Oh, okay.
So it's always like
Yeah.
sort So they're always at the end of their career. They're
And they're
always leaving,
divorced.
and they're always divorced.
So Julie said, you find at these events, women who have spent their whole career, working in their field at the same job, and they got let go, or they quit like right before retirement, probably let go right before retirement, and they're also divorced. They're always life coaches, right? They're because they have the experience.
They think they know everything.
They think they know everything.
I've never really had to struggle about anything in life, anything real in life. They actually think they know everything.
Well, the struggle is real, but I suppose living through 25 years of corporate life and then getting divorced gives you some insights into how to live life as but yeah, generally no struggles there. Yeah. Okay. Be a life coach. Be proactive. Being okay. This is like the
something that we don't like. There's wasted energy, and then there's good energy.
There's wasted energy and then good energy. Julie says, "Look, like Woody Allen is allegedly said to say, 90% of success is showing up. Right? There's your proactivity, but being proactive can also set you apart. If you have a specific role or companies you'd like to work for in mind, consider making the first move. Reach out directly to recruiters or hiring managers if you can find them, right? I don't know if that's true or not. They don't respond if you find them. They might respond. Sometimes they do. But most of them don't. Reach out directly to recruiters or hiring managers if you can find them. That's my I've put that into place. Instead of waiting for job postings, demonstrating genuine interest in a company can make a strong impression, she says. That's Gwenara. You can do that on LinkedIn, which is basically created for this, or write a letter of intent, for example. Use ChatGPT to write that letter, by the way. That'll look good. You can actually, it does look good. It does look good. It cleans up your letter really well if you don't write very well. If you don't write good. You can also ask a professional in your field for an informational interview. Oh my God, this is the worst piece of advice I've ever seen. To gain insights and potentially open doors to new opportunities. Beyond just landing a job, these steps allow you to assess company culture and find a workplace that aligns with your values and your career goals. Well, first of all, good luck finding that person. It's not about who you know anymore. It's about making a connection with the person who's doing the hiring. If you can get that interview and you make a good connection, that's how you get it. Okay. Informational interviews are BS. I did them a lot during the time I was running my own business, and that was mostly to find out about the target audience that I was looking for. So I had different types of industries that I was focusing on and selling my services to, and so I would have informational interviews with people who are in that industry, and try to get some insights as to like how to market to them. So for that, it's somewhat useful. But for direct hires and direct like marketing, like getting, a client as a result of that, no, it's very indirect. And it's just like, that's a stupid thing to say in this article. Okay. Don't let ghost jobs discourage you. Okay. Yes, the job search can feel like you're constantly running from Ghostface until a solid company finally comes to your rescue. Well, okay, there's a problem right there. Don't think of it as that. Don't think of a company coming to your rescue as part of this process. Okay, that's bullshit. You're not going to get anywhere if you think that somebody's going to come to your rescue. Okay, so that's a stupid thing to say. Anyway, realizing that you have applied for ghost jobs after putting effort in your resume and application can be disheartening at first. But on the other hand, you at least have reassurance that the problem might not be you. Oh, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It's just the current state of the job market. Keep this in mind. Use our tips and keep applying. Want to make sure you're applying for real opportunities with legitimate companies? Search for 400,000 plus open jobs here on the Muse.
And meanwhile, they're ghost jobs.
Yeah, a lot of those are probably ghost
Oh my
jobs.
God. Yeah.
So what I will say about that last tip is that these kinds of things help you at least tune up your resumes, tune up your cover letters, if you need them, your portfolios and things like that. I did talk to a couple recruiters that were with placement agencies. Even though they didn't go anywhere, they demanded things of me that were a little rude, and they ghosted me after that. But it put me on alert that I needed to upgrade my my presentation, the way that I present myself on my website and my and on my portfolio. So I put the work in, and I think it really did help. It helped me rethink how I talked about what I did in my projects and in my case studies, talking about the projects that I did. And so it's important to have that kind of feedback. Even though the guy didn't go back and look at my site and go, yeah, okay, I see that this is good, but this is still a problem, et cetera, et cetera. So you get these things, right? So that's what I would say is that last bit of content, or that last tip, is probably good for that, but that's about it. It's mostly, you can roll that on in the bathroom and use that for what. Okay, why are ghost jobs legal? Ghost jobs are legal because no law regulates or forbids companies to advertise an open position when they don't really intend to hire someone.
Legal fraud.
This is legal fraud. Thank you. That's just what I was going to say, Julie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's okay. You got a peanut gallery over here. No, you were we're on the same page on that. As long as there's no crime being committed. Yes, there is, but it's not, it's legal to commit fraud in this case. Companies are allowed to play their cards in the job market in any way they want. So snap. Can a ghost job can a job ghost you after hiring you? If you're only offered the role verbally, it can happen. It's not morally correct, but if no paper was signed, then there's no crime being committed. That's why you should not only stop interviewing or That's why you should only stop interviewing or submit your 2 weeks notice when admission papers are signed. Oh, meaning don't give your 2 weeks notice at your job, your current job. Don't quit your day job. Exactly. Thank you. Until you have signed the paperwork saying, we are going to hire you, and you're going to start this date, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If you're ghosted after signing your admission, that's a different story. In this case, you should consult an employment attorney to understand what your next steps should be. Okay. And then she has another article here that says, recruiter ghosted me after a verbal offer. What should I do now? Okay. So that's Amanda Cardoso, and she's a journalist and writer at the Muse, specializing in career advice, including interviewing, networking, and resume writing tips. Okay, so that's her. That's that. And I'm, I almost apologized, but I'm not going to apologize for focusing on the job market out there, because that's where we live right now. And we always feel that when Book of Hours is dragged into a subject or a situation, it seems applicable to the rest of the world and our audience. So, so you're welcome. Okay. Okay. Going back to where we started. This is a this is a fundraiser, right? My rate is $90 an hour. So I'd appreciate those $90 donations coming in. You can make a one-time donation of $90 to to paypal.com/bookofhours. You can go to CashApp and make a $90 submission or donation to CashApp. That's $Book of Hours. You can subscribe to Substack for $10 a month or more, $90 a month or more. Bookofours.substack.com, or you can go to PayPal. I'm sorry, to patreon.com/bookofours and become a patron for whatever you want per month. Julie's Substack is in the chat. I have not seen any other chats come through. We have one viewer online right now. It's probably Julie. Yeah. So those of you who are in Europe and Netherlands or in Southern California or other places, not just Southern California, the West Coast, other people who are actually working and can't watch this in a live stream, you know what to do. Make that donation if you haven't already. Become a subscriber if you haven't already. Subscribers are how we sustain ourselves monthly. So we're looking for new subscribers on both Patreon and Substack. So please be kind, be generous, and make those donations, make those pledges, or not pledges, but those donations and those subscriptions. All right. We are coming up on the hour mark. We got about 4 minutes to go. Okay, Julie's going to send me something to say out loud before I sign off. Okay, so I am not going to be here tomorrow. Julie is going to be here in place for the Friday reading. Go ahead, text away. Okay, I'm waiting for it to come in. There it is. Okay, okay. For those of you who have made personal donations and dipped into your own savings accounts and checking accounts, we thank you. We want to acknowledge that your sacrifice for our well-being is sometimes something that resonates very deeply with us. And although I'm reading this is something we both feel, and and so I want this to sound sincere, even though I'm reading it. If we weren't in crisis survival mode right now, we'd take more time to acknowledge this. Because of you, we have been able to pay our utilities and avoid a disconnect. Because of you, we were able to afford to buy 2 weeks of groceries. So that is all true. That's where we are right now. However, let me tell you, we've avoided a disconnect with the utilities, but that doesn't mean that we aren't facing the same thing next month. Okay, so that's why we have that $500 goal for this. Well, I said for this week, but we'll say this month. Okay, so it would be really cool if you could step it up and help us out. We'd really appreciate that. Those of you who have donated, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It has really meant a lot that you have dipped into your accounts, but those are from family and friends and patrons and others. I can't say more. I mean, it's made a big difference, but not enough yet. So those of you who have not helped out, please, we're asking for your help right now. Go back and read Julie's Substack piece that she posted today. It's a very important piece that you should read, and it informs you on what's going on in the world. What was that?
So explain that on the rare chance that you've only had one recruiter talk to you, and tell them about the turnaround time if you manage to make it through
right.
millions of applicants that you are up against.
Yeah. So
how many weeks does it take to interview?
Yeah.
And how many weeks for the background check?
So yesterday I had an interview with a recruiter. Yeah. Well, it was a phone call. It wasn't really an official interview. Yeah, it wasn't an official interview. It was just sort of a screening call. That's a better way of putting it. With an agency recruiter. And he told me that the job would involve 2 to 3 weeks of interviews, or it would take a time of 2 to 3 weeks for interviews. And that would be like up to 3 interviews. Okay. This is for a 6-month contract job. Okay. At the least amount of money I've ever made on that type of work. That I have to act happy to accept. And And okay, yeah. I'm just getting my thoughts together. So this is 2 to 3 weeks of just interviews, okay, and then on top of that, 3 to 6 weeks. Is that right? For the background check.
That's why we need 500 a month.
That's why we need this 500 a month, because we're looking at 6 weeks or more, a month and a half, almost 2 months, just to land the job. And that's not even guaranteed. That is just an interview. That's just the interview process. And then going through my personal background. Okay, so
For a design job.
for a temporary job, right, for 6 months. So that's the state that the employment world is in right now at this time.
The corporate world is doing this now.
Right, and then this is what everybody's dealing with in the corporate world, and even in the even in the trades, or even in like jobs that are posted on state employment sites. It's pretty ridiculous out there, and the big gulf between people who make minimum wage or a little higher, and those who make less, just under six figures, just under six figures, like 60 to 90K per year. There's a huge gulf between those two job types. There's not a lot in between. So it's bad out there, folks. And for those of you who are experiencing the same thing, I hope that today's broadcast, today's live stream is useful for you. For those of you who are not aware of what's going on, I hope this informs you as to what 7 million people in the United States are dealing with right now. And I'm sure it's also happening other parts of the world. Okay, because professionals are also active in other parts of the world. Okay, everybody, thank you for viewing, watching, responding. You can make your comments on YouTube. And thank you for those of you watching on Rumble and Substack. And thank you in advance for your donations. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you again tomorrow, where Julie will be reading something for the Friday reading. And I will, or just talking. And I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.